So today we're gonna actually be setting up something called Nginx Proxy Manager. What do you do with Nginx Proxy Manager? So let's say, for example, you have different web services that you're running on your local network, but you want to be able to have external access to those things from, let's say, a domain name like yourname.com. But when you have these different services, they use different ports. Let's say, for example, if you have Home Assistant use ports 2183, but then sometimes you don't remember that port. So if you're not home and you want to access that, to put in your domain name.com port 2183, you might not always remember that. So easy way to fix that, so that you can just put something like home assistant dot whatever your domain name is .com, and don't have to put the port in. You use a proxy server. So today I'm going to show you guys how to set up a Nginx proxy server and allow that to be able to redirect to all these different services with SSL connection. So for those of you who be having those issues, where you're trying to access something on your server but you don't have an SSL certificate for it, this will solve that problem for you also. So check out the intro and let's get right into the video.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates.
So the first thing you want to do is open your Raspberry Pi imager. Then we will click on choose image. Since we're working with the Raspberry Pi 4.0, we're gonna go ahead and look for a Raspberry Pi 4. What I have is a Raspberry Pi 4B. Now we're gonna choose our operating system. Now, for this project, we're going to use Ubuntu. There are several projects available here in Raspberry Pi Imager. Now, I want you to go to Other General Purpose OS right here. Then you're going to select Ubuntu, because that's what we're going to be using for this project here. So go ahead and click on Ubuntu. And we're going to look for 23.10 server. So, and we only want the server edition. We don't want the desktop, because we're not going to be using the desktop model for anything. Okay, so click on the 23.10 64-bit. Now we're going to choose our storage drive. I already have my 64GB SD card plugged in. You don't need 64. You can run comfortably with a 16 gig. So then you click next. And you might want to edit some settings in here. For example, I already have mine pre-configured to broadlink-server proxy, because that's what I want. I have my SSH username and password and everything good. Before you go ahead and go do this, make sure you enable SSH in the service page. So you have to enable SSH so that you can remotely connect to this device. Okay, so do that, make sure everything is okay. Now let's go ahead and click yes. And yes, let's erase the SD card. So it's gonna take a little while to go through this. It's gonna download this, and then it's gonna write the image files to the SD card. It shouldn't take that long to download. It's not a super big image file, so we're just gonna let this do what it do, and then we're gonna get back to this. It's probably gonna take maybe about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or so, depending on this write speed of your SD card and your download speed. The file shouldn't take too long to download from the internet. But let's see how this goes, and I will speed this up and we'll get back after this is finished.
So I've just finished preparing my micro SD card with Ubuntu 23.10 server edition. Now this has no desktop interface on it. It's completely CLI. So don't worry if you don't know anything about command line interface. I will go through all of that with you step by step. So stay tuned. This is my Raspberry Pi. I already have it in the case. This is Raspberry Pi Model 4B.
So we're now going to go ahead and install Docker Engine and Composer, and the links to these are in the description. Let's get back into it. So now we're gonna connect back to our server, and that is proxy. So we're gonna connect with that username and password that we created, which is, and the password okay, and we're in. So let's just make sure that all is well. We gonna just go ahead and update. It's asking for our password. Alright, just gonna make sure all updates are done and that we're okay. So now our next step now is to go ahead and install the certificates. We're actually adding the repository in, so we need to add the key for the repository. Alright, so you press Y for yes. That's gonna go ahead and install the certificates. You can actually process all of these commands here in one. So if you go ahead and you highlight from here all the way down, and you'll be able to do that. So we come back over here, tab, okay. Now that's finished. So we copy this and we paste all of these over here and press enter. That's done. So now let's go ahead and add this repository in, and then we're gonna do an update. So add the repository. Good, our repository was added. So now we're gonna update to make sure we're able to pull data from that repository. And yes, we're cooking with gas. Alright, so let's move along now. We're gonna go ahead and install the latest version of Docker. You don't want a specific version, we're gonna get the latest version of it. So we copy this entire line of code here. It's gonna take 369 megabytes. Now it's asking you if you want to confirm this download, yes or no. So you press Y. And let's go. It doesn't matter if you do uppercase Y or lowercase y. So we're gonna let that install really quick. Okay, so now that this is completed, we can continue. We're just gonna go ahead now and check to see if Docker was installed completely. So we copy this line of code here now. You just bring your mouse over this and press on the copy icon there, and that will copy it. And we paste that in. And there, success, we have Docker. So Docker was successfully installed. And that's a good to go. So now we're gonna actually compose the files for the Docker. So what we're gonna do, since I'm probably gonna use this proxy, this drive here for other purposes, I'm not only gonna install the Nginx Proxy Manager on it, I may have other Docker projects I want. I will actually create a folder to put this Docker installation in. So we're gonna do mkdir, and I'm gonna call this one proxy. So I'm gonna make a directory and call it proxy, and after that I'm gonna go into that directory. So cd into this directory. So now if you notice here, it says that we're in the proxy folder. So here now you need to create this file that says docker composer.yml. So in order to do this, we're gonna go to nano. So I'm gonna copy this name because I hate typing and all of that. I'm just gonna copy this. So I'm gonna nano, which is actually a text editor, and this file we want to create. So when that comes up, now you just copy all of this text into that file. So I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna paste it in there. You can change the ports them if you want to, but it's not really necessary. I'm just gonna skip that for now. I'm gonna leave these at the default ports. So now let's save this file. So you're gonna press Ctrl and X to save this file, and then you press Y to write the changes. You confirm by pressing the Enter key. So now we have our Docker Composer YML file. Now the next step now is to bring up your stack by running this command. So we're using a Docker Composer plugin, so we can't use this first code. We need to use this one here. So let's come down here, and this is gonna take a minute to run. So let's copy this, and we want to make sure that we're still in the same proxy folder. So let's go there now. Enter. Oh, we need to sudo this. So you need to be in the root user. So sudo. Let's go now. So this is gonna run. It's gonna take some time to pull all of these files and set up everything together. So it's actually like doing all the coding, writing all of the files, pulling whatever it needs to pull from GitHub and so forth, and making the installation ready for us. So this gonna take roughly about 3 minutes, I average. If you're using this on a different version of Raspberry Pi or some other device that's running Ubuntu, it may be faster or it may take a little longer, but this is basically the process here. So let's just let this run through for a second. So just to keep this video short, I'm just gonna pause this here and wait for this. Actually, it's almost finished. Okay, good, we're finished. So now this has been started and it's waiting for us. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Since our system is up, we can actually go ahead and access this. So this here is the default username and password. Now we're not using the same desktop edition, so we can't access it from here. Since we're accessing this remotely, we need to get the IP address of our actual server. So my IP address is actually, let me open the new tab. I am at 192.168.20.152, and our admin panel is at port 81. Remember, we set port 81 earlier. Good. So now we need to come back here and get the default username and password. The default username is actually admin@example.com. After you log in, you will be able to change this. And the password, oh, I didn't copy. Sorry, copy this, and I'm gonna bring this over here. So, and the password is change me. So let's just copy this, copy and paste. So at first prompt is gonna ask you for your information, so you can put in your name, So I have that up, and I'm gonna put my email address. This is the domain I'm gonna be using. Okay, so change me is the password, and I'm gonna set a new password. Okay, so now I have my passwords up and set, and everything is good to go. Here, this is your dashboard. This here shows you how much proxies you have set up already. You can add your host name if you want: streams, 404 hosts, redirection hosts, proxy hosts, access lists. You can create multiple users on this here. Settings, you can choose like the default site that people would see when they come if what they're looking for doesn't exist. So you could either use a 404 page, you can use a no response, a redirect, or you can build a custom page, or you can just use the congratulations page. For us, let's use a 404 page. All right, so the next step, you actually have to now configure your services and your domain. So if you already have a domain, you could just point it to your IP address. So I already have my IP address and I've configured this. I use cPanel, so I can go ahead and show you how to do this with cPanel if you are using cPanel. So let's open another tab. So I'm gonna log into mine here. So I'm gonna go into my DNS configuration. So this is basically what your web admin panel would look like. So you go to DNS zone editor. So manage, and you actually have to put in some A-name records. So for example, now I'm going to be using this here to access my Synology drive services. So I have all of these domains that I have configured here. Downloads, proxy, which will be used to access this proxy server, files, drive, video, assistant, NAS. So I want all of these here to be able to access that. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to create an A-name record. So you just add record and you choose A-name. So there you put in now, let's say for example, it would have been test that whatever your domain name is, and then you put your IP address of your modem. You will need to configure some port forwarding also. Port forwarding is different for everybody. Okay, so it just based off of your router. I can't tell you how to do that because there are thousands of different routers out there, different manufacturers, so port forwarding will be different. Okay, so maybe I'll create another video later on showing you guys how to do port forwarding. So once you would have created these, now I'm not gonna do this because I already have mine in. As you can see here, I have proxy.sheldonblair.com. I have Sheldon Blair, download.sheldonblair.com, files, drive, video. Okay, so I am also gonna need to configure some port forwarding in my Synology, in my Unifi network, because I have to, from my modem, it goes into my Unifi gateway and then to my Synology drive. So I have port forwarding and all of that. So drive that nothing, it just doesn't find that. So what I need to do now is first I want to configure all incoming ports into my to go to my proxy manager. So the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna log into my modem. So my modem is actually at 192.168.1.254. That's my AT&T modem gateway. So now I can go in here to my firewall, NAT and gaming. Okay, so here it is now. You don't need all of these in here, but I did this as a temporary way to access them before I installed this here. But as you can see, none of these work right now. So what I really need to do is to transfer port 444 and port 80. This is what you need. So you'll need to forward these ports to your proxy manager. So I'm gonna forward all of this to my Unifi gateway, and then in my Unifi gateway, I'm gonna actually forward those ports to my proxy server. So let me go into my Unifi gateway now. I can get my Unifi gateway from 168.20.1. So now, yes, I have two-factor authenticator on this. Let me get my password, Unifi. Okay, so I have, okay, that code is about to expire. Let me get my new code. I'm gonna go into my network. Now I already had this pre-configured, so I'm just gonna show you. I had it on a different IP address though. So I need to go to security and then port forwarding. So you would have been able to do this from your device just now. So port forwarding, I actually want my proxy manager. Here you see it at 443 and port 80. So I have those ports forwarding there to this IP address. So that's on another device that I was testing, but this device IP address is 152. So I'm gonna change that IP address, and I'm gonna change this one here 444 to 152, so we can have both HTTP and HTTPS traffic coming through. Alright. Oh man, sorry, this is 443 update and 152. Okay, so that's done, and we make sure this is enabled. Okay, so now if I go on the internet and I try to access drive that, it should take me to my page here. Alright, so now I need to go ahead and configure my stuff. So now that we know that these are being forwarded to this, let's come into our proxy manager. We're finished with these for now, so we can actually close these down. Alright, so we're in our proxy manager. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually create, you can go and create SSL certificates before, or you can go ahead and add your host. So I'm gonna just come in and add host, new proxy host, add proxy host. So you need to make sure that you own that site. So I'm gonna go to drive that, let's do video first. video.sheldonblair.com. Gonna add that in, and then I want it to be HTTPS. So I'm gonna go into my Synology drive really quick, which is actually located at 192.168.20.201. So this is my DSM. So a lot of these are pre-configured already. So I can come in here, login pages, advanced, my application. So these are what I have configured. So my video station, I have it at port 4009 for unsecured and 410 for secured. So I'm gonna come back over here now, and I want to do to 192.168.10. Since I have 5 NICs in my Unifi gateway in my my Synology drive, I can use a different IP address. So I'm going to use 220.202, and I want this to be at port 4010 for my HTTPS. I don't want it to cache it. WebSocket support, yes. Publicly accessible. Now I want SSL on this here, so I'm gonna request free certificates from SSL. I'm gonna force HTTPS. Since we're gonna be doing video, I'm gonna be using HSTS. Allow for subdomain, and I agree. This is the email address that it's gonna use for Let's Encrypt to communicate with me. So save this. Don't need to drop anything in advance. So save. It's gonna take a couple seconds because it's now gonna be talking to Let's Encrypt to get the certificate that we just requested. This usually takes maybe about 15 to 20 seconds to get done. 30 seconds max, give or take. Good. So this is ready. So now this is being forwarded. So let's go ahead and test this out. So before, remember, we couldn't access that, so we're gonna go to video.sheldonblair.com. I don't have to put in any port number, and there we go. That's gonna take you to my video station. Voila. Now we haven't yet configured the drivers yet, but if we go to HTTPS drive : we don't get any response. So now let me show you how we're going to configure that one now. So let's come back over here. We know our drive is at port Synology drive here is at 4008. So we are gonna go to our proxy manager and create a different host for drive. So we're gonna add proxy host, domain name, drive.sheldonblair.com. Add that, and we want this to be HTTPS, and we're gonna put this one at 192.168.20.201. So 201, I have 10 gig network card on that one, so it's gonna be a lot faster. So my drive is on port 4008 for secured. So I'm going to put 4008 and enable WebSocket support. I am going to put in SSL certificate, so I'm going to let this get this certificate for me. I agree and save. It's going to take about 15 to 20 seconds, like I said, and then this is going to be ready. So let's just wait this out. So now this is ready. drive.sheldonblair.com. So remember, we couldn't access that just now, so let's go to drive.sheldonblair.com. There we go. Now it's ready, and it also has a SSL certificate installed with it also. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead quickly and configure the other ones. So I actually have I want to access my proxy server so that I can be able, so now this is actually on port 80. So I'm gonna do proxy that, because I want to be able to access my proxy server whenever I'm out, my proxy manager. So HTTP, and my proxy manager is at 192.168.10.2, no, 152, and it's gonna be at port 81. I don't really necessarily need WebSockets, but just in case if I'm gonna access it for anything else, SSL, request new SSL for, no, don't need no SSL for this. I'm just gonna request one anyway. Don't need to force SSL. HTTP 2.0 support, and agree to let's encrypt. This is just HTTP service is gonna go. It's not HTTPS, so we don't have to use SSL on this one. So here, if we go proxy that, let's make sure we got that correct. Proxy 192.168.20.152. Save. Yeah, my bad. I made a mistake there. So that was updated. Let's go back now. Proxy that. It's gonna take a little second for that to reconfigure. HTTP, take out this for, there we go. So now we can access our proxy server remotely. So yeah, that's it. Tell me what you think about this here. This is very useful if you have lots of different web services that you need to access. You have your cloud drives, you have your video servers and all of these things, and you just don't want to have to enter a port in, because before, what I was doing in order to be able to access my NAS drive, I had to go to so if you go to nas.sheldonblair.com, that wouldn't work for me. What I had to do was enter a port. So let's stop this because that wouldn't work. So NAS and 4001, that was my DSM port. So I had to go there to be able to access my DSM. But sometimes you can't remember all of these port numbers. So like this here, for example, now I can fix this easy so that I don't have to enter the port number. So I come over here, add proxy. Alright, and I'm gonna do a HTTPS. I know it's port 4001, and I'm gonna put that to 192.168.20.201, which is the faster one. Enable WebSockets. I want SSL on this. Request a new SSL. Force this. Go ahead, go on subdomain, and I agree. Save. So I'm gonna just give it a couple of minutes to get a couple of seconds to get the SSL certificate, And once that's done, I will be able to access my DSM from here. So here, if I go to nas.sheldonblair.com, I no longer need to enter that to access it. So there you go. No need to have to put in that. So I just need to configure one more now, which is for my downloads, and my download server is actually at 4012. So I'm gonna go ahead into my proxy server again. I'm gonna add a new proxy, and and 192.168.20.205, and this is 4012. Enable WebSockets. I'm gonna request a new certificate and then enable this. I'm gonna use, this is actually my download manager. So it's gonna request that certificate now. And then we're good to go. So if I come here now, I should be able to access downloads that there you go, and we're all set. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and let me know what you think about this. If you do need any help with setting up your own Nginx Proxy manager, you can just reach out to me and I can guide you through the process of how to do this. I'm going to leave some detailed description with links on where you can find everything in this here also. I'm going to create a next video also that will show you how to automatically start Docker every time your system reboots, because if you shut the computer down, it's not gonna automatically start. So look out for a next video